Hey BookTube, this is Friday Reads. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and it's Friday and I can't believe I don't have very much to tell you about. That just surprises me because normally I get through, I don't know, probably 5 books a week, and now I have not very many to tell you about, really just 2 of any significance, but that'll make this go really fast, won't it? So let me tell you about it. I listened to King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. This is book 3 in her Red Queen series, and it is narrated by Amanda Dolan, Adenrele Ojo, and Erin Spencer. I listened to this because I wanted to refresh my memory before I read the 4th book, which is called War Storm, and it's narrated by 5 people: Vikas Adam, Amanda Dolan, Charlie Thurston, Erin Spencer, and Saskia Maarleveld. So that's going to be interesting, but you know what? I don't know. The narration on King's Cage was really good. I had read it before, obviously, and given it 3 stars. And I kind of stuck with that because I think Victoria Aveyard has a way of taking a long time to say things. She tells you what's going on rather than showing you. And I suppose there are people who would say there's a nice balance going on there, but I just got really tired of the lengthy descriptions and explanations, and it was like, move on. Now, you know, a lot of that might be the headspace I'm in. So I don't know, it just kind of dragged. So I, even though I did enjoy the narration especially by Amanda Dolan, she plays Mare Barrow, and that's the main character, and she does an amazing job with her. She does that character really, really well. Erin Spencer, I always like, and then Adenrele Ojo is so good. She is so good as one of the main characters that has kind of risen to the forefront, advanced to the whatever, come to the forefront of the story, especially in this book, but also in the 2nd book. Anyway, all that to say that I'm not ready to read War Storm yet. You know, I wasn't all that drawn in by the world, and I have a pretty good idea of how King's Cage ended now, so I'm ready. I kind of know what to expect going in, but I just don't feel like picking it up. I don't know. YA fantasy right now just isn't calling my name. So anyway, so I read that, gave it 3 stars, and then because I thought I'm kind of, I don't know, fantasied out, I picked up Redesigned by Denise Grover Swank. This is book 2 in her Off the Subject series, and it is narrated by Natalie Duke. I loved Natalie Duke because she did a Tennessee accent for this main character, which was amazing. It was so authentic, so good. I know what that sounds like, and she did it so well. The American South sounds a lot different place to place. Like Texas sounds nothing like Georgia, which sounds nothing like Virginia, which sounds very little like Kentucky or Tennessee. So you've got all these different accents going on, and a lot of people don't get those differences, or they get the big ones but not the more subtle ones. But Natalie Duke got that right. And she also did some other characters in the story that were not from Tennessee, but she just did them so well. And she distinguished a lot of the girls. This is set in a college town. Well, it's set in a college. And a lot of the other characters, like the peripheral characters, you know, one would be kind of a valley girl and another one would be a little bit different, but not that different, but enough that you could tell the difference. And so I just think she took these characters and made them really distinct. And for an audiobook narrator, that is probably the thing that you can do the best, is make your characters distinct. So anyway, I loved the narration. The story was very cute. It was about a design student, and it was one of those hate to love relationships, and it's very sweet, and it ends up very good. It's a happy ending and all that. So it's pretty standard stuff as far as the story goes. So I gave it 3 stars because I thought this is, yeah, it's enjoyable. I can recommend it, but it's nothing spectacular. And then lastly, I am just finishing up the last 40 minutes of The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. This is narrated by Amy McFadden, and Amy McFadden is very seasoned, very good at what she does, and I love her narration for pretty much everything that I listen to. This is YA contemporary, and it deals with grief and survivor's guilt, and a little bit about I don't know, like panic attacks and a general inability to cope with stress. And I like it, but I got to tell you, it's been stressing me out. And I had a really bad day yesterday. I couldn't find some things in my house, and there's just nothing more frustrating than looking and looking and looking when you don't generally lose things and not being able to find it. So it's okay. Moved on to today, and today's a much better day. But as I was out running my errands, I'm listening to this book and kind of thinking, I'm just getting really stressed out with this main character. So I stuck with it, and I'm glad I have, because it's gotten more interesting and more interesting. Jessica Brody wrote a YA fantasy series called Unremembered that I really liked. And so this is completely different from that, but it's still good. So I'm probably going to end up giving this one 3.5 stars, and I'll round it up to 4. I think it's, for what it is, it's good. It's a little bit above average, and great characters, and Amy McFadden right there, she always brings it up. So that's this past week. And looking towards next week, I am going to venture into some undiscovered territory for me. I'm going to pick up The Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz, and that's narrated on audio by Samantha Bond and Alan Corduner. And I don't know. I'm reading this because there's going to be a live show at the end of July with the Deadly Divas, who are Trish and Lisa and me. And so we'll be talking about that. But we will also be talking about the Book of M, which I'm all excited to talk about. So The Magpie Murders is their pick for the month, and then they added the Book of M in. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get through The Magpie Murders. I make no guarantees, and they know that. It's fine. It's not my thing. Mystery, suspense, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a try. And the other thing that I'm going to maybe pick up, if I can't, or probably pick up, is a buddy read I'm doing with, 6 or 7 other people, which is The Perfect Couple by Elin Hilderbrand. It's narrated on audio by Erin, Bennett, and I like the narration sample, and I've never read anything by this author. She's a very popular author that you see her stuff in grocery stores and on shelves in places like Walmart and Target, and so I'm gonna give it a try. Because of this big buddy read, I'm interested to hear what everybody else says. So it's a whole lot of adult stuff going on, not any YA to speak of. So I also have Nyxia and Nyxia Unleashed by Scott Reinken, and that's narrated by Sullivan, Donovan, and a couple of other people. And I really want to listen to it, but it's YA fantasy, like sci-fi. It's probably more sci-fi than fantasy. And I'm just not, it's not grabbing me right now. And I know I really want to appreciate it when I do read it. So anyway, so I may pick that up. And I'm interested in Paige Toon, who is a romance author, British romance author, kind of a rom-com feel to her books. I've never tried any of her books, so I may try that. And then there's also Rainy Day Friends, which is by Jill Shalvis, narrated by Karen White, and it's her newest, book 2 in her Wildstone series. And I haven't listened to it yet. It's been out for a couple of weeks, so I got to get on that. So that, I guess, is everything about the books. There is one other thing I want to tell you about, and that is a book club that I am going to start on Goodreads. Haven't figured out the name for it yet, but I can tell you that I'm going to pick a book each month, and it's going to be a romance book. So it will be a romance readers group. And, romance covers a pretty broad spectrum of things. I mean, it can be suspenseful romance, it can be sci-fi romance, it can be fantasy romance, it can be contemporary romance, it can be YA or adult, you know, I could go on, but you get the idea. So we'll pick a book and read it and then talk about it and maybe do a live show, probably do a live show. And I think the book that we're going to do for August is going to be All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. That is narrated by Madeline Maybe on audio, and you don't have to listen to it on audio, although I highly recommend that you listen to everything on audio, almost everything. But you can read it in print, and all these details, I'll probably do a video about just this thing. But just so you know, it's in my head, I'm working out the details, and I'm excited about it. So anyway, if you've read any of the books I've talked about, please let me know. And especially if you've read any of the ones that I may be going to read this coming week. I'm always anxious to know if you've read something and am I going to like it? Am I not? You know, you guys know me. So anyway, have a great weekend, and that's it for now for me. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.